We think of power as swords and soldiers, don't we? Banners flapping in the wind, armies clashing on a field. But that's only half the story. The real engine of empire, the thing that makes the armies march, is quieter. It's the sound of a pen scratching in a ledger. It's the quiet work of bookkeepers, tax collectors, and coin minters in dim offices. Behind every battle is a balance sheet, and few people in history understood this better than Napoleon Bonaparte. We're taught he was a military genius, the man of impossible marches and brilliant battlefield maneuvers. And he was. But that's like praising an architect for only laying bricks. Napoleon's true genius, the story you never get in school, is how he rebuilt a completely broken nation, not with bayonets, but with something far more powerful: sound money. Think about France before him. Decades of royal excess had left the country bankrupt. The French Revolution tore down the monarchy, but inherited its empty treasury. In a panic, they started printing money called assignats, paper backed by nothing but hope. Predictably, it led to chaos. Inflation exploded. A loaf of bread that cost a few coins one day cost a wheelbarrow full the next. The economy ground to a halt. The glorious new republic had slogans, but it was financially rotten. Into this mess walks a 29-year-old general with the mind of an engineer. Napoleon knew the first rule of statecraft: before you can govern people, you have to stabilize their money. So, in 1800, he did something radical. He created the Banque de France. This wasn't just another bank for the rich. It was a hybrid, privately funded but publicly directed, designed to restore one simple thing: confidence. It was a message to the world that France was done with financial chaos. But a bank alone wasn't enough. He rebuilt the treasury from scratch, bringing in a man named Napoleon, a quiet master of numbers who saw the country's fiscal mess as just a list waiting to be organized. They standardized accounting and clarified where money came from and where it went. For the first time in forever, France could actually see its own finances. Then came the anchor. In 1803, Napoleon introduced the Franc Germinal, a new currency tied directly to fixed weights of silver and gold. No more paper promises. This was real, tangible value. And with that, France didn't just change its currency, it changed its destiny. A coin in your hand today would be worth the same tomorrow. This wasn't built on speeches, it was built on clarity, and confidence flooded back into the French economy. Next, he tackled the corrupt tax system. The old kings used to sell the right to collect taxes to private companies, which was a recipe for abuse. Napoleon swept it all away. From now on, the state would collect taxes for the state, with clear, standardized rules for everyone. Land taxes, personal taxes, business licenses. Everything was reorganized. He even created a Supreme Audit Court in 1807. Why? Because Napoleon knew that a state that can't track its own money is flying blind. Now he had a problem. How do you pay for constant war without going broke like the kings before you? His solution was brutally modern. Make war pay for itself. Every victory wasn't just a military triumph, it was a financial one. Conquered nations paid massive indemnities. Occupied territories had to support the French troops stationed there. After the Battle of Jena, money poured in from Prussia. War funded war, as long as he kept winning. He even made smart deals, like selling the Louisiana Territory to the United States for $15 million, a huge injection of cash for land he couldn't defend anyway. Napoleon's empire wasn't an army with a state, it was a state machine that fed an army. But every system has a breaking point. For Napoleon, that point was the sea. He couldn't defeat the British Navy, so he tried to strangle their economy with a massive embargo called the continental system. The goal was to cut Britain off from all European trade. On paper, it was brilliant. In reality, it was a disaster. Smugglers had a field day. His own allies resented the economic pain. The blockade ended up hurting France's friends more than it hurt Britain. It's a timeless lesson. You can make laws against trade, but you can't make laws against human incentive. For a while, spectacular victories like Austerlitz masked the growing financial strain. But the math was starting to turn against him. Then came the invasion of Russia, a catastrophe. The French army didn't just lose soldiers, it lost a decade's worth of investment. Horses, wagons, supplies, all gone. The system that relied on war paying for itself suddenly flipped. The core of the empire had to bleed itself dry just to try and rebuild. Credit dried up. Confidence cracked. Even the most brilliant financial system can't survive a war that consumes everything. And yet, when Napoleon fell, something amazing happened. His financial architecture remained. The Banque de France was still standing. The solid Franc Germinal was still the basis of the economy. The audit court and the tax system were still working. Napoleon the man was gone, but he had given France a financial spine that would last for over a century. That is his real, unheralded legacy. He left us with powerful warnings. Trying to strangle trade often suffocates yourself, and relying on the spoils of victory to fund your lifestyle is a recipe for disaster, whether you're an empire or an individual. When the good times stop, the whole structure can collapse. But he also showed us what makes states and people endure: credible money, clear accounting, reliable systems. These things create trust, and trust is the ultimate currency. The tools are different today. We have digital currencies and global markets, but the principles are identical. A nation's real strength isn't in its military hardware, but in the trust people have in its financial foundations. So what's the takeaway? First, understanding money isn't just for economists. It's a survival skill. See the world through the lens of taxes, currency, and debt, and you start to see how it really works. Second, build your own life on solid ground. Rely on real skills and stable cash flow, not just on illusions or a booming market. Finally, remember that power and money are two sides of the same coin. Napoleon mastered both until he pushed them past their breaking point. The final image to keep is a map and a ledger, side by side. When those two told the same story, Napoleon was invincible. When they started to disagree, his empire was already doomed. History gives us the blueprints for success and failure. If this changed how you see history, hit that subscribe button. The answers are all there, if you know where to look.